Hello, this is Landy Peak with Peak Possibilities. I'm a women's health occupational therapist, and I help women heal physically and emotionally after babies. Now, most women have no guidance on how to heal their babies postpartum, how to heal their bodies postpartum. And so we get all the care for our babies, but we're kind of left hanging for us. You don't know what steps you take to get your core and your pelvic floor re-engaged and aligned, how to get back to doing the things you love without having to worry about pee leaks and pelvic pain. It's a big issue for a lot of women. So today we're going to do my top exercises to help you get a strong core and pelvic floor. And this is all things that you can do right in your own home and really assess, test, and have a strong pelvic floor and core going forward. Okay, so first we've got to figure out what is going on with your body during pregnancy and postpartum, so then you know the next steps to heal. So our handy dandy pelvis. So with our pelvis, starting around 36 weeks gestation, so 36 weeks pregnant, your hip bones actually start moving, not to this degree, but they move out to give baby more space. Same with your sacrum, it actually moves out. Now, if you've been, remember when you're pregnant, you kind of feel like your hips got really wide. This is what's going on. Okay, so they move out and your sacrum moves back. This gives baby more space to get down into the pelvic inlet. Amazing. Now here, baby actually comes down and engages onto the pelvic floor. So we're in active labor at this point. So baby is coming down and engaging into that pelvic floor. Once we have that engagement, labor is really going. Our sit bones actually open up, and our sacrum and our tailbone move out. So the sacrum moves out and the tailbone often moves to the right, most commonly moves to the right. Now that means that we have to have a lot of tailbone mobility. How many of us have had a tailbone injury? If you had a tailbone injury even as a child and you had scar tissue that now kind of pulled that tailbone in, often it comes all the way, kind of pushed in, and I feel tailbones that are pushed in and really secured with that scar tissue, then this can be a real impact with labor, either making it more difficult for baby to come on and out or preventing baby from coming out, depending on where that tailbone is positioned. And what else is going on with your pelvic floor. So you want to make sure if you're pregnant that you have good mobility with your tailbone, with your sacrum, and with your whole pelvic bones and sit bones so that baby has the easiest path out and you have the easiest labor. This movement gives you 25% more space if you're in an upright position and all bones can move for baby to get out. That's huge if you're a laboring mom. Now, hip bones close back up. Sit bones out. So the sit bones are going out, and what happens is if we have experienced trauma, and trauma can be physical trauma, a tear, episiotomy, emergency C-section, just a general C-section, or emotional trauma where you're like, whoa, that was a rough event, that was a really tough labor. There's some stuff that goes on with that. We have three modes to deal with trauma. We have fight, we have flight, and we have freeze. Now you can't run from labor, you can't fight it. The only option left is to freeze. So what happens is your bones will actually freeze in this open birthing pattern. Now, when they freeze in this open birthing pattern, one, energetically, we're really open during labor because we have a new life being coming down and through us and new energy force. So there's a lot of energy and openness, and you can pick up negative and positive energy around you from nurses, doctors, husbands, mother-in-laws, whoever's in that room with you can really pick up that energy as well. And that can impact you postpartum. But if you're a mama who is always tired, no matter how much sleep, how well you eat, all of that, you're constantly drained, it might be an open birthing pelvis because it's like leaving the door open. All that energy is still going out of your body. We need to close that up. Now, physically, if you have that open birthing pelvis, there are muscles that connect all of these bones. This is your pelvic floor, and now all those bones are pulled tight. Now what happens here is that when your pelvic floor needs to contract and lift to support your pelvic organs like your bladder and your rectum and your uterus, they're all pulled tight. They don't have the same range of motion. They can't lift and support like they should. It's like having a tight bicep. So if you have a crunched bicep and you try to lift, you don't have much lift. But if you have the full range of motion, you have a lot more strength. So first thing is get yourself evaluated to see if you have an open birthing pelvis. I'd love to help you with that. Give me a call if you want to talk more, and help get that pelvis closed. And so I can help you do this online or in person. Number one, check your open birthing pelvis. See if that pelvis is still open. Now we're going to go into the exercises that are most powerful for getting your pelvic floor and core healed after baby. So we talked about that pelvic floor being tight. Now most women have too tight of a pelvic floor versus a weak pelvic floor, but we're all told we have a weak pelvic floor. It's because when you do have a tight pelvic floor and your OB assesses, go ahead and do a Kegel, there's not a lot of movement. No, it's too tight. There can't be a lot of movement. So what you're going to do is start off with a self-assessment. Now you can do a vaginal assessment with a finger if you want, or just do inhale, allow your pelvic floor to lower. Can it lower? Can you feel it? Can you feel and connect with your pelvic floor? So what you can do is really visualize like an elevator. Wherever you are right now, that's ground floor. That's your ground floor. Can you lower your pelvic floor to the basement without a lot of effort, without pushing and bulging, just a gentle lower? If you can't, that's sign number one, you have a tight pelvic floor. Now, I want you to exhale and lift your pelvic floor. Remember that elevator, you're at ground floor. Can you lift to floor 2? Yes? No? Can you feel it? It's okay if you can't. It just means there's a disconnect. But if you cannot lift and lower, that is number 2 sign that you have a tight pelvic floor. Now remember, most women have a tight pelvic floor versus a weak pelvic floor. Now how do you tell if you have a weak pelvic floor? A weak pelvic floor generally has the full range of motion. You can lower it and lift it. You just don't have a lot of oomph with it. It doesn't have a lot of strength. It doesn't feel strong, but you do have that motion. A tight pelvic floor has limited motion. So that's your number 1. You can tell with your finger inserted vaginally, being able to lower and lift. Can you feel that clench on your finger? Can you feel that movement? Or just visualizing and feeling on the outside. Both are great ways to assess yourself. Get an idea, do I have a tight or weak pelvic floor? Because that's going to change how you get your pelvic floor and core strong again. And that's the next step. So what I want you to do is if you have a tight pelvic floor, your main focus is going to be on relaxing. Now remember, if it's not working with just the relaxing and lifting, you want to start thinking, do I have an open birthing pelvis? Do I need those muscles to be able, those bones to close to be able to have those muscles move? So first exercise, I want you to inhale, lower your pelvic floor. See that elevator go down, lower that pelvic floor, and then exhale and lift. So you're gonna go ground floor is where you start, basement, ground floor, second floor, and keep going 10 times a day. That's all you need. 10 times a day, being able to release your pelvic floor and engage your pelvic floor. Now, both are important for a weak and tight pelvic floor. If you have a tight pelvic floor, your main focus is going to be on relaxing, and then you'll start just noticing. Because my guess is you have a pretty good strength in your pelvic floor. It's just that you don't have that range of motion. So we want to get the range of motion. Now, if you have a weak pelvic floor, you're going to have that range of motion. And you're gonna focus still on lowering and lifting. So you're gonna still focus on that, but you're gonna get more of that lift focus because you can have that relaxation. So tight pelvic floor, you're still gonna do the same exercise. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift, focus on the lower. A weak pelvic floor, inhale, lower, exhale, lift, focus on the lift. Number one, getting reconnected. Now you're saying, I can't feel my pelvic floor. It won't do anything. And that's okay. What you're gonna do is really visualize it. Athletes use visualization all the time. Visualize your pelvic floor lowering and lifting and lowering and lifting. And if you're struggling, give me a call. Okay, so the next thing that we want to work on is getting your posture. Now, posture is a big one for getting a working core and pelvic floor, and we don't often think about it. Let me show you. Okay, so what happens is, let me move back so you can kind of see me. So what happens during pregnancy is we have the weight of big belly, right? And so we often tip our pelvises forward. Let me tip down so you can see my belly. So we tip forward, and you can see with my body, my pelvis is tipped really forward. So this is normal, natural, and this is tipped forward. And then the other way that we see women do is we tip backwards. And so you see the women, this is kind of the waddle, and you see women that waddle and women that totally tip forward and kind of have their bellies lead. Now, we have to counteract that weight somehow. Most women don't maintain a neutral pelvis during pregnancy. If you're pregnant, work on your neutral pelvis. It will help you in the long run. It really will. But if you're postpartum, and you can be a day postpartum, or you can be a year postpartum, or you can be 10 years postpartum, it doesn't matter. You can still get this back. So what you're going to feel for is where your pelvis is. Is it in neutral? Is it tipped forward? Is it tipped back? Now, one of the things that we often complain about as moms is our mommy tummy. So watch my tummy. I tip forward. Look at how much bigger my belly looks. I almost look like I'm pregnant, and it's just pelvic tilt. Now, why don't we want to do the tipped back? Definitely makes my tummy look flatter. Well, the tip back shoots all of my pelvic organs right down on my vaginal canal. Hello, prolapse. You really want neutral. Neutral is where all of your organs rest on a nice pelvic shelf. They're supported, you're supported, your whole core can engage and be active and support you. So looking for neutral. Now, how do you tell? Tip forward, tip back, find neutral. See if you can figure out what your natural tendency is. Now, my one trick, if you're struggling, is you're gonna go down, and I'll try to keep my shirt low. You're gonna go down like you're gonna touch your toes. Now, you don't need to touch your toes. All I'm looking for is the pelvis tilt. So we're gonna tilt, and then when you come up, your body automatically hits neutral, and then it goes to whatever it wants to do. So it tips forward or tips back. Now, I was one of those that had my pregnancy belly and I tipped forward. My body, when I get tired, still wants to do that. And so most of the time I keep a nice neutral pelvis, but I know when I get really tired, I start tipping forward. I also know that I feel things in my pelvic floor when I do that. So knowing where that neutral posture is really key. So number one, getting your pelvic floor engaged. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Number two, neutral pelvis. That's going to be key. Now, number three, because these are going to be my top three. Number three is getting your walk back. Now, you can walk to support your pelvic floor, and this is a big one, and it can make a huge difference in your pelvic floor, in the way your whole body feels. It's really amazing. Standing back up. So what I want you to do is you have that neutral pelvis. Now, I want you to look at your feet. How do they stand? Do you have feet out, feet in, feet one kind of out? Like, what's going on with your feet? Just take note. Now, what I want you to do is I want the outsides of your feet to be parallel. The insides actually feel a little toed in. And I want you to just watch. I think I can do it from here. I want you to watch what happens to my body as I do that. So feet out, feet in. Do you notice I automatically hit neutral pelvis? Feet out, a little bit more, go to the side, a little bit more poochie tummy. I kind of go out, feet in. It hits me neutral. It also engages my inner thighs. So all of a sudden, when the outsides of my feet are parallel, The insides of my legs are starting to work. I can feel those muscles, and I'm supporting my pelvic floor just by standing. Hello, doing dishes, standing in the grocery store line, doing whatever you need to do. Outsides of the feet parallel, insides are a little bit toed in, but all of a sudden, woo, you've got better posture, which is good for your whole system, and you're supporting your inner thighs and pelvic floor. Now we're going to add to it. When you walk, many women, because we have more of that forward tilt pelvis and a lean, you walk pulling with that front leg. Start watching women walk. They pull with that front leg. And you see it, you get a lot of hip action. But what it does is it totally disengages your pelvic floor and your glutes. What's good for the glutes is good for the pelvic floor. So what I want you to do is neutral pelvis and push. So my actual, instead of a pull, so my force is in the front leg, it's pushing with my back leg. My front leg didn't go forward. So I'm going to do it again. Pull, that front leg and that front hip go forward. Push, I'm pushing off. My front leg's just hanging here. It's not doing anything. It doesn't stretch out. It just catches me. So you want to walk where you're pushing with the glute, pushing with the glute. And you will actually feel the engagement into your buttocks. And the coolest thing is, it's going to boost your booty. Hello, looking better in jeans. But bigger than that, it's going to support your pelvic floor, your core, your posture, making you a stronger mama. And that's what you want. So top 3 things that you need to heal your core and pelvic floor. And let's see if I can see. So first is tight or weak pelvic floor. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Second thing, neutral pelvis. It's going to make you feel long, lean, so much better in your body. Third thing, walking to engage your glute. Outsides of the feet parallel, standing up tall. Inner thighs engage, pelvic floor engages, and then you walk pushing off behind you to engage that glute. Now, if you need more help, let me know. I'm happy to walk you through anything that you're struggling with. Okay, so 3 top tips plus a bonus, because you know I've got to throw in a bonus. So the biggest bonus, and I think the thing that women worry most about, is their diastasis recti. That split in the abdominals does give you more of a pooch feeling and look, and being able to close that up and heal that is key to getting the belly that you want and the core strength. We need to get that deep core muscle engaged, and that's huge. We're not talking about a 6-pack. We're talking about functional core where it's strong enough that you can do dishes, lift kids, run, do the things that you want. We're not talking about 6-pack. Okay, so with your diastasis, that's that separation in your abs. If you want to know how to assess for your diastasis, email me, call me, and I will send you a separate video on exactly how to assess your diastasis. But I want to teach you how to heal it. So the biggest thing that happens is with your diastasis is that your obliques, the muscles on the side, actually get super, super tight during pregnancy, because deep down there's this beautiful muscle called the transverse abdominis, and it wraps all the way from your spine around your sides and connects into the middle. And because it does this, it gets so stretched out during pregnancy, and because it is so stretched out, it goes on vacation. Now we want to get that transverse to come back on, but the first thing we need to do is to release the obliques. So what you're going to do is actually do a little body work. So I like skin on skin when you're doing it yourself. So you're going to slide under your shirt. I'm going to do over my shirt so you can see what I'm doing. You're going to reach all the way around, far as you can to your spine. Now, some people can't reach around like this. Shoulder limitations, there's lots of things. So you're going to do it with same side hand. Turn your hand, turn your hand. Let me turn. So turn your hand, or bonus, have your partner help. So you're going to pull along that bra line and release all the tissue, the connective tissue, those obliques that are really tight, and come to midline. So you're gonna do it again. And you're gonna come all the way around to midline. And then you're gonna do it again. Come all the way around to midline. And you're gonna go all the way down your side to your hip, past your belly button, and then you're gonna start on the other side. And you're gonna release all the way around and release all the way around. And what that does is it releases your obliques. And all of a sudden, your ab separation can go from 3-4 fingers to 2 or 1 finger. And I have that happen in my office all the time, where we're closed that quickly because the obliques are literally holding it open. Just doing that can help support you and give you that core strength. Now, lastly, you do need to, I'm watching my time, you do need to get that transverse abdominis back and engaged. Here's how. Remember that inhale, exhale that we did with our pelvic floor? Same move. This time, inhale, expand in your ribs. Exhale, feel the deep core muscle. Wake up and start squeezing like a girdle. This is your girdle. This is your God-given girdle, and here it comes. So inhale, exhale. I like giving a little extra squeeze with your hands. Wakes up the muscle. So inhale, exhale, and squeeze down, giving yourself a little squeeze. Now, how often should you do this? The oblique release, try once a day for about 7 days. You should start seeing a difference. If you don't, there's something else going on. So let's talk. Now, the breathing, 10 breaths a day. You can even combine them if you're that coordinated. 10 breaths a day, and you'll start seeing a difference. Once you see a difference, you can start increasing. But I'd love to help you figure out an actual supportive plan that takes you step by step what your body needs to heal. So this is Landy Peak with Peak Possibilities, and you can reach me at www.possibilitiesot.com. You also will get an extra special bonus that you can download, and it's a really awesome quiz that walks you through, are you ready to start exercising and running after baby? And it really breaks down, is your body strong enough and where are your weak areas? So stay tuned for that. This is Landy Peak. I look forward to help supporting you in your healing, and we'll talk to you soon.